Hey guys, this is Evan from EzOrigami, and today I'll be teaching you how to fold an Origami Star 74 designed by Francesco Mancini. This is a relatively simple modular model, and it looks great when it's completed. This model requires 11 square sheets of paper. Each unit is folded from a rectangle with a dimension ratio of 1/√2, so before folding the units, I'll show you how to cut each square to the correct dimensions using a folding tool. You will need 10 squares to fold the units, and you'll need an additional square of the same size for the folding tool. So you'll need a total of 11 equally sized squares. I recommend using 3-inch squares to fold this model. Using 3-inch squares will result in a star about 4¼ inches wide. I'm going to be using larger paper with color on one side and white on the other just to make it a bit easier to follow along. And we're going to start by making the folding tool. So take one square and make sure it's the same size as the other 10 squares you will use for the units. And once you have your paper, start with the white side up, and then we're going to fold in half diagonally. So take this bottom right corner and fold it up to the top left corner. Align the corners and the edges, then make your crease, and then unfold. And now we're going to fold up this bottom edge and align it with this diagonal crease that we just made. So we're going to start by lifting up the bottom edge, and we want to start at the bottom left corner and work our way up and over to the right until the entire edge is aligned with that crease. Just like this. Then you can make your crease. And once you have this, then you can unfold. And now we're going to make a horizontal crease that extends from this point here where this bottom crease intersects with this right edge. So we're going to do that by first lifting up this bottom edge, and we're going to pull it up slowly, just like this, until you reach a point where this top diagonal crease intersects with this right edge here. And once you've reached that point, that's where you want to make your crease, but you also want to make sure that the colored and white edges are aligned on each side of the model. And once everything is aligned, then you can make your crease, and your model should look like this. Then we're going to rotate the paper so that the colored edge is now held on the left. And we'll use this as a folding tool to help cut the rectangles for the units. So once you have this, then we're going to take one of the 10 squares that we prepared for the units, and we're going to hold it with the white side up. Then what we want to do is pick up the square, and we're going to slide it in between the two layers of the folding tool by pushing it to the left as far as it'll go. And once the left edge of the square aligns with the left edge of the folding tool, then your model should look something like this. And from here we're going to fold over the right edge of the square and align it with the colored edge on the folding tool. So we're going to do that by lifting up the right side of the paper, and we're going to pull it over to the left until both of those edges are aligned. Just like this. And once they're completely aligned, then you can make your crease, and your model should look like this. And once you've done that, then you can pull the square outside the folding tool, and you should have something like this. And now we're going to put the folding tool aside and focus on the first square. And what we're going to do is simply unfold the flap that we just folded in. So we're simply going to pull that flap over to the right, just like this. And from here we want to cut the paper along the crease that we just created. And once you've done that, you'll be left with these two rectangles. And what you want to do from here is put the narrow strip aside, as we'll be focusing on this rectangle with the dimension ratio of 1/√2, which we'll use for the units. And once you have your first rectangle, then you want to repeat this same process on the remaining 9 squares that you prepared for the units. And once you've done that, you should be left with 10 rectangles with the dimension ratio of 1/2. And we're going to start with our first rectangle with the white side up. And we're going to start by folding up this bottom left corner and aligning it with the top right corner. So we're just going to lift up the bottom edge, pull it up and over to the right until both of those corners are aligned, just like this. Once everything is aligned, then you can make your crease. And from here we want to slightly rotate the model so that the long colored edge is now held on the bottom, and then your model should look something like this. And now we're going to fold in half vertically. So we're going to take this right corner and fold it over to the left corner. So we're basically just folding the entire model in half. And once the left and right corners are aligned, then you can make your crease. And then you can unfold. Then we're going to unfold one last time so that we're back to the original rectangle. And now we're going to fold over this top right edge and align it with this vertical crease. So we're going to do that by lifting up the right edge and pulling it over to the left. Then what we want to do is start at the top of the model and work our way down, aligning the edge with the crease. Just like this. And once the entire edge is aligned, then you can make your crease. And once you have this, then we're going to do the same thing on the left. So once again, we're going to take this top left edge and align it with this vertical crease, just like we did on the other side. So again, we're going to start by lifting up this left edge and pulling it over to the right. then you want to start at the top of the model and work your way down, aligning the edge with that vertical crease. This time you can also align it with the other colored edge, and once everything is aligned, then you can make your crease. And then you can turn the model over. Now we're going to make a horizontal crease that extends from this right corner here. So we're going to do that by first lifting up the bottom of the model, and then you want to pull it up slowly until it reaches a point where this white edge reaches this right corner that I mentioned before. At this point you'll also start to see the edge of the white layer underneath, and this is where you want to make your crease. But before you do so, you want to make sure that the vertical creases on these two layers are also aligned. And once everything is aligned, then you can make your crease. And once you have this, then we're going to turn the model over, and we're going to rotate 180 degrees. And now we're going to unfold this colored flap on the right. So we're just going to pull it over to the right, just like this, and flatten everything out. And now we're going to fold over this bottom right edge and align it with this colored edge here. So we're going to do that by first lifting up the right side of the model, and we're going to pull it over to the left like this. Then what we want to do is start at the bottom of the model and work our way up until both of those edges are aligned. And once they're completely aligned, then you can make your crease. But as you're doing this, you also want to make sure that this white layer on top aligns with the new crease that you'll be making. So just make sure that the white layer doesn't drift out of place, and then you can continue your crease all the way across. And as you can see, the white layer lines up with the rest of the crease. And once your model looks like this, then you can unfold the flap that we just folded in. And now we're going to fold over this top right edge and align it with this rightmost diagonal crease. So we're going to do that by first lifting up the right side of the model, and we're going to pull it over to the left. Then we want to start at the top and work our way down until the entire edge is aligned with that diagonal crease, just like this. And once everything is aligned, then you can make your crease. And your model should look like this. Then we're going to rotate 180 degrees, and this is one completed unit. Now you must fold 9 more. Once you've folded all 10 units, you're going to need 2 to start the assembly. Then, look at one, and you'll notice that it has a small flap like this on the right, it has a large flap like this on the left, and it also has a narrow pocket underneath this colored layer here. So once again, we're going to take our second unit, and what we want to do is slide the small flap from the first unit inside of the pocket on the second unit. So we're going to do that by lifting up both units, and we want to slide them together like this. Once again, you want to make sure that the first unit's flap goes inside of the second unit's pocket, and you want to continue pushing the units together until they don't want to go any further. And once you've reached that point, then you want to make sure that the colored layers from both units come to a common point at the center of the model here. And you also want to make sure that the colored layers on the top of the units form a 90-degree angle here. And once everything is aligned, then we're going to turn over both units. And we're going to lock them together by folding the second unit's flap behind along this crease that I've marked here. But before you do that, make sure you lift up the second unit's flap, and you'll notice this small colored flap from the first unit. This layer should get folded behind as well, so you just want to keep that in mind. So from here, we're simply going to mount and fold this flap behind along this existing crease. So we're going to do that by simply pushing the large flap underneath, just like this. Again, you want to make sure that you fold the colored flap behind as well, and then you want to continue pushing the large flap inside as far as it'll go. And once you push the large flap inside, then you can put down the model, flatten everything out, and now you've connected 2 units. Now we're going to turn the units over once again, and now we're going to add a third unit the same way. So once again, we're going to slide the second unit's flap inside of the third unit's pocket, just like we did before. So we're going to do that by picking up all 3 units, and we're going to slide the second and third units together, just like we did before, until they don't want to go any further. So continue pushing the units together, just like this. Then you again want to make sure that the colored layers come to a common point at the center of the model, and you want to make sure that the colored layers on the top of the model form a 90-degree angle here. And once everything is aligned, then we're going to turn over all 3 units. And now we're going to lock the second and third units together by mount and folding the third unit's flap behind along this existing crease that I've marked here. So we're going to do that by simply pushing the large flap behind as far as it'll go. Again, make sure you fold the small colored flap behind as well, just like this. And once the large flap is inside, then you want to reinforce that existing crease. And now you'll see that we've connected 3 units. So we're going to turn the units over, and we're going to add a 4th unit the same way. So once again, we want to insert the third unit's flap inside of the 4th unit's pocket, just like we've been doing. So once again, we're going to push the third and fourth units together until they're completely aligned, just like this. Again, you want to make sure that the colored layers come to a common point at the center of the model, and they form a 90-degree angle at the top of the model here. And once everything is aligned, then we're going to turn over all 4 units. And once again, we're going to lock the third and fourth units together by mount and folding this large flap behind along this existing crease that I've marked here. So we're going to do that by simply folding the fourth unit's flap behind along that existing crease, just like we did before. Again, make sure you fold that colored flap behind as well. And then you want to push the large flap inside as far as it'll go. And once you've folded that large flap behind, then you can put the model down and reinforce along existing creases. And now you've connected 4 units. And now we're going to add the remaining 6 units the same way. So just continue adding units just like we've been doing until you've reached the last one. And once you've added the last unit, then you need to connect the first and last units together. So we're going to do that by sliding the last unit's flap inside of the first unit's pocket, just like we've been doing. So we're going to do that by carefully sliding the last unit's flap inside of the first unit's pocket, just like this. Again, make sure that both units are completely aligned. Then we're going to turn the model over. And once again, we're going to tuck the first unit's large flap behind along this existing crease that I've marked here. So we're going to do that just like we did before by folding that flap behind. Again, you want to make sure that the small colored flap is folded behind as well. Then you want to continue pushing that large flap inside as far as it'll go. Then you can put down the model and reinforce along existing creases. And once you've done that, then your Star 74 is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial on how to fold an Origami Star 74 designed by Francesco Mancini. Feel free to upload photos of your completed model to the YouTube gallery on my website to be featured here in my next video, or simply upload your photos to Instagram using the hashtag EzOrigami to be featured here as well. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and thank you for watching.